Life has a funny way of giving you things sometimes you don't think that you need, you don't think you deserve, you don't think you even want. And right now, I think that's going on in Cleveland, guys. The news dropped yesterday. We'll start here. Happy Tuesday. It is March 11th, 2025. The Cleveland Browns have a new quarterback. Kenny Pickett, the former 20th overall pick in 2022, former Pittsburgh Steeler, joins the quarterback room in Berea. They sign him. Don't sign him. They trade for him so long to our great friend of show, friend of Big Play, actually, DTR and a 5th-round pick to Philadelphia in exchange for Kenny Pickett, guys. A lot to break down here. I think when you look at this move, everybody on Twitter automatically blows up. It's a move that doesn't maybe make sense at the base level of it. It's not exciting. And on a day where you're seeing all these names float around, go to different teams, it's a lackluster move and you want more. I think if this move would have came after a couple other moves, the reaction would not be the same that it was. I think because this is the first move, there's a lot of reaction around it.
Ryan, as a guy who grew up not really having a ton of athletes that spoke to me, like who's a guy that's like Jack O'Rourke in pro sports? There's not a ton of 5'7", 120-pound guys
Jose Altuve
running around. Yeah, Jose Altuve. I got Jose and Jose. That's about it, who are my size. So let me tell you, when this news broke, Ryan, and I found out that the Cleveland Browns were going to have a quarterback with my exact hand size, these little five whatever footers here. I mean, man, this is awesome. How about the big ticket, Kenny Pickett coming to Cleveland? And right, but I mean, hey, for DTR, we have like 15 draft picks this year, not literally. But if you're giving up a 5th-round pick in DTR, sure, take a flyer on a guy with some pedigree. 1st-round pick, ACC champ, Super Bowl champ.
I didn't know that, Jack. Is his nickname the Big Ticket?
Yeah, that's what they were calling him out of college. The big ticket, Kenny Pickett, Kennywood, Pennsylvania. He had all his nicknames when he played in Pennsylvania.
It's not quite the rhyme that Drew Lock has going for him when we refer to him as his nickname. We all know that one.
Yeah, no, he's not Drew Lock.
Nick, you trade DTR, a guy who really, I'll be honest, I'll say flat out,
sucks.
Super nice guy, not an NFL caliber quarterback. Got a bad start the first time he was shoveled into under center against Baltimore. Not his fault there, but he's had he's had other opportunities, and the talent didn't show. You move on from him, you bring in Kenny Pickett. They're going to make other moves at quarterback position, but it's just hilarious how life works out. Kenny Pickett, now a Cleveland Brown. Nick, did the Browns find their franchise savior?
Ironically, Dorian Thompson-Robinson's one win and his 1-8 record with the Cleveland Browns came against Kenny Pickett and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we can all take a collective laugh there. And I'm happy for Dorian that he could, go to a Super Bowl winning organization, be under Howie Roseman's watch. I mean, that's a player that at UCLA was just dynamic to watch. And I don't know that he ever really fit any of the 500 systems in the last 2 years that we tried to run here in Cleveland. So good for DTR. He gets a fresh start. I don't know that Kenny Pickett is the savior. I think this is a, buy low idea. He's going to play a lot of preseason snaps. We'll get a lot of preseason big ticket Kenny Pickett, come this August. I think the Browns are still going to add 2 more quarterbacks. They're probably still trying to get Kirk Cousins released from the Atlanta Falcons. That's another quarterback that you could get on $1 million deal, and then you're going to draft a quarterback later in April. So I really think that this was a deal that was made because the Browns are paying Deshaun Watson $46 million. They still owe him, I should say, $46 million to sit at home and not play quarterback for them. You needed to find somebody on a $2 million deal that could come in and compete. And that's what Kenny Pickett's going to do. He's competing right now against nobody. He's the only healthy quarterback on this roster. So it's going to be a litany of Kirk Cousins or a player of Kirk Cousins.
When you look at this, the numbers don't lie, okay? Not Kirk Cousins. Kenny Pickett is better than DTR. You can have your own opinions on Kenny Pickett, but from what we've seen this point throughout their careers, both pretty short careers thus far, Kenny Pickett is an upgrade. I think a lot of people didn't want to see that 5th-round pick go. Guys, we can't hit picks in the 2nd and 3rd round, let alone the 5th. I'm not quite worried about that. Kenny Pickett in his career, 15 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, 79.3 passer rating. DTR, we all know this number. This is honestly, guys, the worst stats in NFL history. 1 touchdown, 10 interceptions, and a career 45.2 passer rating. You're not going to make a lot of hay in the NFL with those kind of numbers.
How about that Kenny Pickett's preseason, though?
He was the preseason darling. And obviously, in hindsight, if you could have traded him then, it would have worked out. You would have got more. But, hey, you never know. You stuck with DTR. You threw him in there. It didn't work out. Now he's moving to Philadelphia, where he's probably better suited in that system than he would be here in Cleveland anyway.
Ryan, would you consider, if you're like the Houston Roughnecks, would you go out and maybe try and run back like a DTR to Austin Watkins connection, see if that could lift you to the top of the UFL?
Yeah, absolutely. Bring Josh Gordon in as well. That'd be a hell of a team.
Yeah.
Guys, Kenny Pickett, obviously probably not going to be the answer. He's going to fight in camp. Obviously, we know that. You're going to bring in a veteran, whether it's Kirk Cousins or somebody else. Hell, Daniel Jones, who's out there? I know
Carson Wentz.
Jimmy G.
Carson Wentz. No, Jimmy G's back with the Rams.
Oh, is he?
Regardless, though, they're going to bring in somebody. It's the big news because it's the first real move that you made in the offseason, or excuse me, in free agency. You bring in Cornelius. What's his last name? I forget. Lawrence or something like that. Cornelius, the D tackle, or excuse me, the O tackle.
That's what we got.
I don't hate this. I don't hate this move. I honestly don't hate this move. You're bringing in a new blood at quarterback. You knew the quarterback room wasn't going to be anything looking the same as it was last year. And hell, it's hilarious. You bring in Kenny Pickett, a former Steeler, guy with small hands. Hell, you never know what happens in the NFL. We've seen reclamation projects. I'm all for Kenny Pickett in Cleveland. I'm excited to see him in brown and orange. I'll say it.
It's as low risk, low reward as you could go. As you said, you gave a guy who had, I mean, the biggest loss of DTR leaving town is what it's going to do for Dante's Inferno. I mean, that's where the loss comes from the Cleveland perspective.
If Greg Newsome leaves, Cleveland Bars might be bankrupt. We're talking about moving.
West 6 could be in trouble.
You're talking about moving the stadium being a downfall for the Cleveland economy. If you get Greg Newsome out of here,
that could be bad.
Barley House is out of business.
It could get bad. So with that, but getting back to Kenny, like, he's a taller kid. He can even run a little bit. Everyone knows the iconic fake slide. It's never bad to bring in a guy who he's a little definitely taller than DTR. He has a better arm than DTR. You never know. Worst things worse. Kenny Pickett's also the kind of guy who, in a way, if he has like 1 or 2 good preseason games and God forbid someone else goes down, you could probably trade him again for a 5th round pick. At the end of the day, nothing even happened and you pick. I don't think this move has any long-term impact on the Browns offseason at quarterback.
Is this quarterback class, I'm talking about the 2022 quarterback class when Kenny Pickett was taken 20th overall, is this the worst quarterback class we've seen in quite some time, guys?
Dude, Kenny Two Gloves is fine.
Outside of Kenny Pickett in that draft, Malik Willis, Sam Howell. I still have a little bit of faith in Sam Howell if he can cut the turnovers. He's got talent. Desmond Ridder, my Bearcat, Matt Corral, Bailey Zappi, Skylar Thompson, and Chris Oladokin, who went to the Steelers. The one gem in this,
the
of
Browns
course,
have had now 3 of those guys, right?
Yeah.
They've had Skylar Thompson, they had Bailey Zappi, and now Kenny Pickett.
And how about this? The one quarterback who actually is worth a damn in that draft was the last one taken, and that's, of course, Brock Purdy.
That's so crazy.
Awful quarterback class. And
Matt Corral's out of the NFL, right?
I believe so.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the thing. It goes to show, I hate, the biggest pet peeve I have is when people talk about quarterback classes being trash. You never know. Trevor Lawrence, the Mac Jones, the Trey Lance, Justin Fields, that quarterback class was highly touted. Crap. It was horrible. It's a horrible class. Trevor Lawrence is still the best one in that class. And what has he done? 0 playoff wins.
You never know. Could be that way, dude.
Yeah, but my thing is, you never know. You can be highly touted as Caleb Williams. You can be a Brock Purdy who's barely drafted. And you can turn into getting right now, $45 million the 49ers offered him. You never know. And I think that's the same case with this draft. That's why
here's like the reason if people want to be optimistic about Kenny Pickett, it's that there's something to be said, especially in the last 3 or 4 years in the NFL, about guys that go away from their horrible situation, spend a year just being non-existent. Nobody's heard from Kenny Pickett in a year because he was the Eagles' backup. Like, that's what happened to Sam Darnold. He was horrible in how many starts. He quietly went away to San Francisco, figured out how to play football again, and then went to the Minnesota Vikings, had a good head coach there, and he was humming. Maybe this is what Kenny Pickett needed, to go away, go learn from Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, and the Eagles' offense, come to Cleveland now and get Kevin Stefanski, who's made it work with how many quarterbacks, and could be okay. I don't know. Whatever the Browns were going to do to patch together a QB room this offseason wasn't going to be that attractive. The more that I think about Kenny Pickett, the more that I hope he has an actual chance, because like Kirk Cousins isn't going to get anybody out of bed. It's just not in this AFC North. You're winning maybe 5 games with Kirk Cousins, 6 games at most. Same with your rookie quarterback. Like Shador, the knock on him is that he might not be ready to go right now, and that he might take a minute because he might be more of a 2nd round pick if this was a good QB draft. So like, I think Kenny's going to be in the mix.
shit.
I'm not going to bet my bottom dollar that Kenny Pickett's going to work out or even maybe, start a game for the Cleveland Browns next year. But we've seen this in the NFL. I mean, reclamation projects. I mean, we're going to take a break here in a minute talking about Justin Fields going to the Jets. I mean, you were in a bad situation in Chicago. You go to the Steelers, as we're talking about now. You look way better in your 6 starts there. Basically, every metric Justin Fields played in the Steelers uniform was leagues above what he was on the Bears. We'll see what you can do with the Jets. Anything's possible. I mean, like you said, low risk, probably low reward, medium reward. I don't know. But honestly, whatever. You knew the quarterback room wasn't going to be at all what it was last year. You're still going to bring in a vet. You're still probably going to draft somebody. I'm fine with Kenny Pickett as a QB3. Just, 2 years removed, 3 years removed from being the number 20th overall pick.
18 teams used more than one quarterback last year to start a game. 18 NFL teams had to go to their backup or, in the Browns' case, 3rd and 4th string. There's a chance this guy might have to play. Like, you don't want your 3rd string to be Skylar Thompson.
All right, we got to take a break.
Walker, baby.
We got to take a break. When we get back, NFL free agency, we are in the absolute midst of it. Sam Darnold gets a fat payday from the Seattle Seahawks. J.C. Horton gets paid from the Panthers. Ton of moves. We'll get to that. Laramie Tunsil going to Washington. Don't know what Houston's doing. Your O-line is already garbage. You trade away your best player on your front. We'll talk about that and more when we get back here on The Big Factor. Hey, everybody. Welcome back into The Big Factor here on the Big Play Sports Network. Ryan, Tyler, Jack, Rourke, Nick Padone. We're brought to you today, of course, every day by our great friends at Fairway Ford, Ohio. Fairway Ford is the biggest Ford truck dealership in the state. They have the largest selection of Ford F-150s as well as Super Duty trucks, and I promise you they will not be beat on price by any other Ford dealer. Do not let a short drive to Canfield, Ohio prevent you from saving thousands. Yes, that's thousands of dollars on your new truck. Fairway Ford, the largest inventory of new Ford trucks, lowest pricing and the same hometown level of service. Visit fairwayfordohio.com. Once again, that's fairwayfordohio.com. Guys, this is the best time of the year, honestly. NFL football, it's over, but you get all of these moves. I'm literally looking at my phone. It's breaking news every second. I'm seeing, CJ Gardner-Johnson to the Texans. But we start
Kenyon Green. Why are the Texans blowing up their offensive line?
Well, we'll get to that, but I want to start here with one of the biggest ones, a domino that fell yesterday. Sam Darnold is going to the Seattle Seahawks. They give him a 3-year, $100.5 million deal. 55 of that is guaranteed to Sam Darnold. He's reunited with Clint Kubiak, who was with the 49ers on their passing game staff back in 2023 when Darnold really started his career resurgence there, then got signed with Minnesota, and really obviously last year had an amazing season, obviously fell short in the playoffs, but nonetheless, he got that contract. I don't know how I feel about this move.
I don't like it.
I do think you're going from an upgrade maybe from Geno Smith to Sam Darnold. You're getting younger. That's a good thing for the Seahawks. But guys, the Seahawks offensive line last year ranked 30th in pass block win rate, going from Minnesota, who was second. Okay, the Seattle Seahawks need to revamp their offensive line. You get rid of your best weapon, probably in DK Metcalf. You're going to lean on Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker in the run game. Kind of a reset here for Mike Macdonald in his second year in Seattle. I don't think they got the pieces to make noise next year, but I mean, you got Sam Darnold locked up for the next couple years. We'll see how that goes. Your guys' thoughts?
I hate to say this, man, because I don't want I'm never the person to throw shots really like at pro athletes that I don't know. I don't think Sam Darnold's very good. I really think that like he is the same exact player as Geno Smith. I don't know why you wouldn't have just kept Geno. And I know they said Geno was offered the same contract and turned it down. So maybe that's part of the reasoning there. I just don't think Sam Darnold in the NFC West against Nick Bosa, against the Rams front, with that long, elated throwing motion that he has, is going to do even close to what he did with the Vikings last year. And I know it was one really good year. I think Kevin O'Connell's a really good coach. I think having Aaron Jones and Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison would help any quarterback trying to make a career resurgence. I don't get this move for Seattle at all. Good for Sam Darnold for cashing in. That's a hell of a payday. Got $500,000 more than Baker Mayfield, and it's hilarious the kind of parallel career arcs that they've had with Baker finding a new life in Tampa and now all the way across the country in Seattle with Sam Darnold. I don't like that move for Seattle. Like, I think it's just more of the same. You're meandering in the middle if you're the Seahawks with this move.
You went 10-7 last year. The Seahawks were the only double-digit win team to miss the playoffs. You ship off Geno Smith. You bring in Darnold. You fired offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb. You bring in Clint Kubiak, who got the Saints offense. I mean, don't forget the first couple weeks of this last season, the Saints offense was averaging like 40 points a game. Derek Carr looked really good. You reunite him with Sam Darnold. But as I said, that offensive line is garbage. You lose your best weapon in DK Metcalf. It seems like just a reset. You get young. You trust Mike McDonald in his second year, who I think is a great coach. I mean, 10 wins in your first season isn't anything to scoff at. It's just, Nick, yes, Sam Darnold, you saw the ceiling there in the playoffs. Your worst games of the season were in the biggest moments. But I guess Seattle, they saw enough from that. And Mike McDonald identified a guy who he can pair with Clint Kubiak to maybe reset something there in Seattle.
Nick, I think you talked about it perfectly. Like, we talk about this all the time in general on the show, but you should either be trying to be the best team in the league or the worst team in the league. And Nick, you said it a billion times talking about our own Browns here in Cleveland. The best way or the most efficient way to get good in the NFL is by drafting a good rookie quarterback, or maybe that this wouldn't have been the year for the Seahawks because of how they finished last year. But it makes no sense. Like you said, Ryan, you get rid of a bunch of pieces that would imply that you're trying to get good again or to stay at that 10, 11 win threshold that the Seahawks have been hanging around the last couple of years. Why would you go out and sign a quarterback who, as Nick mentioned, is not really in that top tier of the league for $30+ million a year when your roster around him is not that good? Like, why would they not just go all the way back down, then try and get good, go get Arch or something next year?
Yeah,
and I think they could. If you look at the way that contract, at least like according to the reports, is structured, it seems like if Darnold completely bottoms out this year, they could just
cut him. Red button on him?
Yeah. Like it wouldn't shock me if he was really bad and the Seahawks end up, at the top of the quarterback class next year, which is hopefully, people now are speculating that it's going to be better than what this year's is going to be. And I know we just kind of had a rant about that in the last segment, but yeah, I don't get this move really. Good for Darnold, but I don't think this does anything for the Seahawks. That's a tough division with a lot of good defenses. And you just gave a guy $100 million that's known to throw a lot of interceptions. That could kill you.
Well, another team that wants to get good again, the longest NFL playoff drought, the New York Jets. They have their new quarterback in Justin Fields. They signed him to a 2-year, $40 million deal, $30 million of which is guaranteed. Interesting move for the Jets. I don't hate it. I don't love it. Justin Fields last year on the Steelers, 4-2 before they benched him. They benched him for no reason. I understand you kind of promised Russell Wilson that starting role, but you were 4-2, and Russell Wilson did okay, but you saw it bottom out towards the end of the season. Yeah, you got to the playoffs. Mike Tomlin had another 500+ percentage winning season, but really all for nothing is that's kind of been the Steelers' pattern here. You get a cultural reset. You bring in Aaron Glenn, the New York Jets' new head coach. You can't really do a cultural full reset if you have a 40-year-old quarterback with an ego hanging around. You get rid of Aaron Rodgers. You bring in a young guy who's been through adversity, who's in Pittsburgh. Every single metric got better with the Steelers. I think the Jets just gave him more guaranteed money. But now it leads to what the hell are the Steelers going to do? Aaron Rodgers maybe by the end of today will be their quarterback. But it's interesting. You said you wanted to bring back, Art Rooney did, one of Justin Fields or Russell Wilson. Well, now it's certainly not Justin Fields. It doesn't look like it's going to be Russell Wilson. And you'd think if you're going to bring back one, well, you'd bring back Justin Fields, who maybe has an untapped ceiling, a younger guy with more longevity than Russell Wilson. Right now, I'm at a loss for what the Steelers are going to do at quarterback.
Yeah, it seems like Rodgers, maybe they bring back Russell Wilson. Maybe they're the team that drafts Jackson Dart in the first round. I think for Justin Fields in New York. I like this better than I like Sam Darnold. It at least reunites him with Garrett Wilson, who we know at times has been a little bit of a malcontent. He wants the ball a little bit more. And I think Justin Fields, a guy that he has familiarity with, is going to be able to distribute it to him. So while nobody's counting on or expecting that the Jets are going to make noise in the AFC this year, I think this is a move that at least will make the Jets watchable. They're in that kind of mode right now. New head coach, new full regime. You're rebooting Aaron Rodgers, which was a reboot from Zach Wilson. So this has been a long time in the making. And I think Justin Fields is a good character that could handle kind of the big apple, if you will, and calm the nerves of Jet fans everywhere.
Nick, I think you just told me the plan of the Steelers right there. I think I heard it within your voice of what Omar Khan is going to do now. I could so see Aaron Rodgers, and then you take because Jackson Dart's not going to play this year, right? That's like the general consensus, youngest QB coming out, that he's probably going to take some time. That would make a whole lot of sense to bring in Rodgers for 1 year and have Jay Dart sit behind him as your future.
I could see it. I don't know that I'd like it. I think Jackson Dart is okay. I think Aaron Rodgers is actually, he showed us last year he could be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL at times. And you can never count out Tomlin. I know we always make fun of, he'll win, enough games to make him over 500, but he's not going to do anything in the playoffs. That's a good team with a good defense. Now 2 really good wide receivers. Don't let Aaron Rodgers, who was a top 10 quarterback last year, come in and be the guy that could help them win a couple playoff games. That would not be fun. Oh, yeah, and develop Jackson Dart, who's another guy that has a big arm, big AFC North style quarterback. It's a solid game plan if that's the route that Pittsburgh wants to go.
It seems as though the Steelers, it's Aaron Rodgers. I can't imagine it's Russell Wilson. It's Aaron Rodgers or maybe something that would be shocking along the lines of a trade for a guy like Kyler Murray. You went out and got DK Metcalf, which was a bit uncharacteristic. I think going out and trading for Kyler Murray would also be a bit uncharacteristic. I don't know. Maybe they're finally waking up and realize they have to change things from the normal way they do it. We'll see what happens there. I want to talk about this as well. J.C. Horn, now the highest paid defensive back in the entire NFL. He signed a 4-year, $100 million contract. That's $70 million guaranteed. Our guy Denzel Ward is now 6 at $20.1 a year. Jalen Ramsey, Surtain, and Jair Alexander round out the top 5. Panthers, a team on the come up. They really focused on their front 7 in this offseason. Bryce Young looked good. I think it's fair to say the back half of last season, maybe a career resurgence for there. Dave Canales going into his 2nd year. Could the Panthers maybe make some noise next year?
I don't know,
but win 6 or 7 games would be crazy, and I could see the path to it. They're stockpiling talent. They got the cap space, so they bought a couple free agents yesterday. That's the luxury. We watched a couple teams do that. The Patriots were big spending. The Chicago Bears completely solidified their offensive line. When you get a rookie quarterback, whether you're married to him or not, and I don't think they're married to Bryce Young just yet, but I think they have reason to be optimistic about him. You have the luxury to go out and improve your team in a big, big way so that you could really give Bryce Young a true look. Now with this front 7 rebuilt, a nice defense headlined by J.C. Horn, I'd say, find out, is Bryce Young really good? If you make a wild card, the answer to that question is probably yeah. If you win 4 games, the answer to that question is probably no.
All right, other news, Laramie Tunsil traded to the Washington Commanders. They've had a great offseason, added Debo earlier. For Houston gets a 3rd, 7th pick in this year's draft, a 2nd, 4th in 2026. Washington gets, obviously, Tunsil and a 2025 4th-round pick. Why are they decimating their offensive line? C.J. Stroud, the biggest reason that he didn't look great last year was because he was one of the most pressured and sacked quarterbacks. Interesting move. You trade your all-pro tackle, your best player on that offensive line. Good move for Washington. Obviously, you were very close to going to the Super Bowl. You get Jaden Daniels in his 2nd year. You fix a few holes. Washington looks really good. Now my questions are, what are the Texans doing?
I don't know what the hell they're doing, but as a Browns fan, all I can tell you, I got 7 likes on this tweet yesterday, and I have about 5 followers on Twitter, so it's my equivalent of 10,000 likes. Yeah, exactly. Sign back Jedrick Wills. We have his exclusive rights right now. You sign Jedrick Wills, you trade him for a ham sandwich to go play on there as one of their tackles because they have nothing going on right now. It'll cost you nothing. You go get a 7th-round pick or something. That's where my head's at.
What kind of ham?
Okay.
Oh, what kind of ham? Ooh. I don't know if you're going to be able to
Smoked
swing honey.
ham?
No, you can't swing honey baked for Jed Wills, so you're probably going to go smoked, yeah. Or, I mean, honestly, dude, for Jed Wills and all the, like, last year, the business decisions, you might just get Canadian bacon.
Interesting enough. Javon Holland going to the Giants. I thought that was a good pickup by New York. I would have loved to see him here in Cleveland. Don't know what we're going to do at safety. We'll see. I mean, by tomorrow's show, maybe Aaron Rodgers will have a home. Daniel Jones will have a home. Russell Wilson will have a new home. We'll see. We got to take another break. When we get back, we're flipping over to baseball. Gerrit Cole, sorry, Yankee fans. I don't hate to see it. I'm sure they do. Out for the season. He needs Tommy John. We'll talk about that. And MLB ballpark rankings. Where do the Guardians and Progressive Field rank? Probably a little bit lower than you'd imagine. We'll talk about that more when we get back here on The Big Factor. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The Big Factor here on the Big Play Sports Network. Ryan Tyler, Jack O'Rourke, Nick Padone. We're flipping it over to the diamond. Baseball news broke yesterday. New York Yankees ace, one of the best pitchers in the last 5 years. Honestly, 9 years. Gerrit Cole, he will undergo Tommy John surgery today to repair a torn UCL in his throwing elbow. He's going to miss the entire 2025 MLB season. Last year came back around All-Star break and led the Yankees to that AL pennant, I should say. Now he's going to be out the entire season. You signed Max Fried in the offseason, which now seems like a godsend, but that rotation is suspect outside of that, Jack. What is it? Marcus Stroman.
I mean, the best pitcher's out also, Luis Gil. So, yeah, you're down to, like, Stroman, Fried, and Carlos Carrasco.
Now, I wouldn't be shocked the Yankees go out. You go out, maybe get a Dylan Cease, a Michael King, somebody else. But big blow for the Bronx, Jack. How does this affect the Yankees?
Not very well is the first thing, because you're paying Gerrit Cole, I believe, well over $30 million. It might even be over $40 million AAV on his contract. And again, I'm going to bring it right back to what I did last segment, which is what do you do if you're us? You send them Tristan McKenzie for catching depth. That's what you do right now. It is obvious. The New York Yankees don't really have the guns to go out and get a Cease or a Michael King. Not that they don't, it's just that they don't have the depth that they once did in their lineup to go out and comfortably trade a Jason Dominguez or something like that. So yeah, and there's not really anyone left out in the starting pitching market. Like when you get to this point in the year, these names kind of thin out by the middle of February. They're in a really rough position right now, Ryan, because like having Luis Gil out right now, they're looking at probably a bottom 10 rotation in baseball, at least through May. And that's also banking on Luis Gil, who was Rookie of the Year last year, to come out and not have a sophomore slump, which you see a lot out of pitchers in baseball. And really, I mean, any sport, you see sophomore slumps a ton because guys get film on you, guys start to figure out what you like to throw, what you're throwing to, like these big pitches. They're in trouble, Ryan, and that they're going to need to. It might not be Tristan McKenzie because he kind of quaked off a little bit, but they're going to try and go find a guy like Tristan McKenzie around the MLB who has shown potential before, who they think is going to be as healthy as possible to at least get them through the first couple of months of the year and can maybe flash up and show their ceiling a bit.
Yeah, listen, I will never cry tears for Yankees. I mean, how many times as Guardians fans have we seen something like this? Obviously, just last year, Shane Bieber, we know the difference that made.
That would also, like I said yesterday on the show, them trying to swing that would really not shock me. If we were in a world where we're out of it and they are competing with the lack thereof of a rotation that they'll have when it comes August, if like Luis Gil isn't playing or pitching great, I could so see them trying that, Ryan.
All right, Jack, I wanted to get your thoughts on this. We didn't talk about it yesterday, but news broke over the weekend, I believe. 1995, American League MVP, known very well here in Cleveland, Mo Vaughn. Well, he confirmed he used HGH to recover from a knee injury in his career. Quote, I was trying to do everything I could. I knew I had a bad degenerative knee. I was shooting HGH, whatever I could do to help the process. stole the MVP from Albert Bell, Jack. Now
Damn
it
right he
comes
did.
out, what, 15, 20, 30 years later that he was using HGH. If you're Albert Bell, you got to be so pissed.
Probably not, because Albert Bell probably juiced also. But yeah, I mean that is. And obviously, I wasn't alive in 1995, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you like it was the craziest thing I ever saw. But the fact that a guy hit 50 home runs and 50 doubles in a shortened MLB season, and no one has done that before or since. Think of all of the great names in baseball's past. Think of everyone who's played since: the Mike Trouts, the Otanis, the Jeters, the A-Rods. Before that, the Ted Williams of the world. No one has done that besides Albert Bell, and he did it in a shortened season. And he loses the MVP because the BBWA writers hate him compared to Mo Vaughn. But, I mean, it was an era where it seems, and I don't know this for sure, a lot of guys were juicing back in the 90s. Obviously, the Balco scandal came out in the early 2000s, confirming a lot of that. And even I think Mo Vaughn might have been listed at the time. But at least it's good to know that he was using it. If he's going to use it to, like, he did it late in his career just to heal up a bad leg. It's not like he was Barry Bonds at 28, already on pace for a Hall of Fame career, juicing up and doubling up what he's doing. So, yeah, but it does suck because that should be our MVP, because I don't know our last MVP in baseball. It cannot be recent.
One time when I was in 8th grade, and I was playing CYO basketball for St. Monica's, I dropped 18 points, and none other than Mo Vaughn, former MLB MVP Mo Vaughn, was sitting courtside. I got a picture with him after the game.
Really? Why was Mo Vaughn at...
I still to this day have no idea. And we were like in a timeout, and our coach told us, like, he's like, "You see that guy over there?" He's like, "That's Mo Vaughn. He won the like a AL MVP years back." I was like, "Wow, that's crazy." So after the game, I got a picture with him.
You talk about, Jack, how much they just hated Albert Bell.
You got to find that picture.
Yeah, I'd love to see that picture, Nick.
So in 1995 season, we mentioned Mo Vaughn won MVP. Albert Bell in 1995, okay? 54 home runs. Mo Vaughn had 39. Albert Bell had 54 doubles. Mo Vaughn had 28. Mo Vaughn had 3 triples. Albert Bell had 1 triple, whatever. 134 RBIs for Albert Bell. 126 for Mo Vaughn. Mo Vaughn hit 300. Albert Bell hit, let's see here, 311. How is that even possible?
You love to talk about how in the MVP race for any sport, the best player on the best team, right? The best player on the best team. We went like 144 that year in a shortened season. How does he not win every single counting stat, basically? He's ahead of him. I could only assume Albert Bell was a better fielder because Mo Vaughn played first base. So I don't know about that, but that's messed up for sure.
We got to get Albert Bell on the show.
I found the picture and I tweeted it.
Okay, let's go.
All right, we got to take another break. When we get back, Jack, who has been to almost half of all Major League Baseball parks, is going to judge this list, basically. Jesse Yamtava of USA Today released his full rankings of MLB ballparks. We'll break that down when we get back here on The Big Factor. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The Big Factor on the Big Play Sports Network. Ryan Tyler, Jack Rourke, Nick Padone. Jack and Nick. Jack has said the picture that you just tweeted out of you with Mo Vaughn. Jack has a comparison for you.
This is a compliment, too. So let me preface that.
Okay.
I think, so this is 7th grade Nick Padone, right?
I can't remember if I was in 7th grade or 8th grade.
Around that time.
Yeah, 7th or 8th.
Middle school Nick Padone had a little bit of Josh Giddey to him.
Okay.
With
the hair.
The flow.
The hair.
Yeah.
Hold on.
You should have gone. I wish you went like the Strews route though. Like maybe throw a little headband on that.
I did. I used to. So like back then, back then, like 10 years ago, the flow bands were in. So we would wear women headbands more or less, like the super thin.
Did you tie in the back?
No, I didn't tie the back. I would just let it flow.
Okay, I like that. I like that a lot.
Super thin flow band and just let it flow in the back for the game. But then, yeah, like my natural was to just like let it, all go forward. So after the game, I took that thing out and, the flow went forward. But
you do have quite the flow. Wow, Mo Vaughn is a big dude.
Mo Vaughn was a unit, man. Like I remember I shook his hand. That was like the first time ever. And now that like I've worked in professional sports for some time, like I've realized like, yeah, I have pretty small hands and I've shaken a bunch of, offensive line, defensive line hands. But I remember when I shook his hand, like it just engulfed my hand. And that was like the coolest thing for me at the time. And also the other funny piece of that picture is the red Nike Elite socks with the white uniforms were certainly a fashion choice. I don't know what made me go with that.
He makes Prince Fielder look small. My goodness. All right, guys. Corner of on Carnegie and Ontario. I cannot speak today. Beautiful progressive field. I want to talk about these ballpark rankings courtesy of Jesse Yomtov of USA Today. Before I unleash the list, I got to tell you guys it's only 28. Why? Because the Oakland Athletics are playing
Jones to the Colts.
To the Colts. Battling out with Anthony Richardson. Wow, interesting. What was I about to say?
You were talking about the corner of Carnegie and Ontario.
Yes, beautiful location. Yes. A's. There are only 28 in this rankings because the A's are playing in a minor league stadium and Mother Nature had other plans for Tropicana Field and the Tampa Bay Rays. Before I dive into it, I want you guys to guess what you think are some of the bottom tier ones.
Because, I mean, those were just the two that everyone always, like, spoke about in that. I mean, man, I hate to say it. I would not be shocked if Kauffman is down there because Kauffman's getting pretty old.
Well, looking here, number 28 coming in, Rate Field, the Chicago White Sox.
I was just going to say the White Sox stadium I've heard is not good. I haven't been to many baseball stadiums. The one where I have to know where it's at is Rogers Center.
Rogers Center, we'll get to that one. Coming in at 27, okay. And Jack, you've been to 13 MLB ballpark.
Around there, yeah.
So if you have any grapes, let me know. 27, Chase Field, the Diamondbacks. 26, Great American Ballpark, the Cincinnati Reds.
That's perfectly rated.
25, Nationals Park, Washington Nationals, underrated. Of course. 24, American Family Field, the Brewers.
I haven't been.
23, Angel Stadium, Los Angeles Angels.
Oh, that shithole should be way lower. I didn't even. Wow, that one's got to creep down the list. I've not been there, but it looks terrible.
22, Globe Life Field.
That's not good news for me. I just booked a flight to go there like in a couple of weeks.
Dude, Globe. That's just a bad look for. Because they had that beautiful Fort Worth ballpark, like Rangers Park at Arlington Yards, for like 2 decades, beautiful, and they build that new huge stadium. It's awful.
Nick, Rogers Center comes in at 21, Toronto Blue Jays.
That's right.
20.
That's perfectly rated.
That is perfectly rated.
And there's probably a couple. Like I honestly might put Great American Ballpark over Rogers. It is the weirdest stadium. I just can't get over like you can't see anything. Like every fly ball that goes up is just lost in the gray roof. It's like watching a baseball game inside of an upside down tomato soup can.
Dude, well, because the thing
quite
with
the analogy
is like. Tropicana Field, like I went there when I was a kid. It was so dark in there that you could barely even watch the baseball game. Rogers Center, there's like LED lights everywhere. Like it's hard to not have a seizure when you're in there. It's the total opposite, Nick.
Yeah, that's true.
Number 20, Yankee Stadium.
I haven't been there actually.
All right, guys, I believe next is, yes, I'm correct, 19, Progressive Field, our Cleveland Guardians. Too high, too low, just right.
Too low.
Way too low. That's a...
Progressive Field, think about it, put it this way. Progressive Field is the nicest stadium, professional sports stadium in Cleveland. So what's that say for Rocket Arena and whatever they want to call the Brown Stadium?
Well, that's 32. That is, how does that not in the top 10 at a minimum, though?
I wonder how in tune he is with all the stuff they're doing.
Probably not very. I want to compare where else I've been ahead on the list.
Okay. Yeah. 18, Lone Depot Park, the Marlins.
That is like bottom 5. What is that one doing on the list?
Have
that
you
one's
been there?
A joke of a stadium. I have not been there in person, but I've heard a lot about that stadium, and they've had to, like, so when they opened that, Jeffrey Loria, who was the Marlins owner at the time, I don't know if he still is, like, every bell and whistle in the world. They had Stanton, they had young Yelich. They went out and got like R.A. Dickey, Mark Burley when they built that new stadium and like transitioned from Florida to Miami, whenever that was. I think it was 2012 maybe. So many bells and whistles. They had to remove them all. Like they had a fish tank like behind like wrapping third base to first base around the stadium. And no one went to the damn ballpark, so they got rid of it. Like, it's a bad stadium. No one goes to it. It's not a baseball town. That's a terrible pick in the top 20.
The R.A. Dickey insanity run was something of a spectacle.
Yes, it was.
All right, 17 Busch Stadium, St. Louis Cardinals.
I've been there. That is low. That it's not as good as Progressive Field, but that one should also be much higher.
All right.
Beautiful city, by the way. Wouldn't you know it?
Good inside joke. Truist Park, 16th, Atlanta Braves.
Weird about this one. So I went to the old Atlanta Stadium, which was literally 10 years old when they tore it down, or 15 years old. So I have not been to that one yet, but I think that one looks pretty cool. But the old one was a little bit crappier.
All right, we're getting into the top half of the rankings of all MLB ballparks. Number 15, Dakin Park, the Houston Astros.
No, that one needs to be 30 because that one was one of the best ballparks in baseball when they had that. Do you remember when in deep center field they had that like incline and a random pole in the field? That was awesome. That's got to come back because that gives you like the Polo Grounds national pastime vibe.
Hey, how about Jose Altuve playing left field this year?
Is he?
Yeah.
He's going to go a lot of balls over his head.
Number 14, come on, Comerica Park, Detroit Tigers.
The fact that one is in front of us is just that's like you should go to, that's a war crime. That's bad. The Comerica Park is not even within 10 spots of Progressive Field.
Number 13, Citizens Bank Park, the Philadelphia Phillies.
That one should be above us, probably.
12, Kauffman Stadium, the Kansas City Royals.
I've been to that one, and that one is a total shithole. It's really hot there. The stadium is super duper old. They have fountains. That's really cool, but fountains does not put you number 12 on the list of 30 stadiums.
Opened in 1973, Jack, so old is correct. Number 11, Citi Field, the New York Mets.
I mean, it's just like they should have never. That should have looked just like Shea Stadium, and the fact that it doesn't look just like Shea Stadium is why it should be nowhere near the top 10.
All right, rounding out the top 10, Target Field, Minnesota Twins.
Yeah, I mean, hitters can't even see out of the batter's eye when it's before 4 o'clock. So it's kind of if you can't even play the sport at the stadium, then what's the point?
So I believe the AL Central, the only one lower than Progressive would be Chicago White Sox.
That's embarrassing, and that's not true either.
Number 9, T-Mobile Park, Seattle Mariners.
Haven't been out there, but that place looks sick.
It does look sweet.
Yeah.
Number 8, Coors Field, also looks pretty sick.
Yeah, I want to go
Colorado
out there.
Rockies.
Really cool.
Number 7, Dodgers Stadium, Los Angeles Dodgers.
I mean, it's just historic, yeah.
Number 6, Petco Park, Padres.
Nick, you have not been there, but you're about to be there, right?
About to be there, yeah.
Okay, so your full reveal on that one.
5, Fenway Park.
You got to put it in.
Open in 1912.
Got to be up there.
Then number 4, Oriole Park at Camden Yards.
This is my number one. My number one is probably Camden Yards, and my 2 is Progressive Field.
Number 3, of course, Wrigley Field.
Beautiful.
Number 2, Oracle Park, the Giants.
It wasn't so damn cold.
And that leaves to number 1, a ballpark that we actually were at last year or 2 years ago, and that's PNC Park. I think well-deserved. One of the most beautiful aesthetics.
Oh, yeah.
The bridge, I don't think you can beat it.
Yeah, it's that, and it's also, for me, I love if you're sitting in the outfield in St. Louis, you can see the arch behind the stadium, too. That's super cool. Those are the 2 best backdrops in sports, but when you really get into the weeds about what would make PNC better than Progressive Field, I mean, all you have to look at is a Sugardale dollar dog with some Burtman slabbed on it versus crab fries. It's very simple. We win.
All right, Jack, 1-minute drill, hockey time.
Boy, oh boy, folks. Former number 1 overall pick, guys. So when you look at the Ontario Hockey League, which is like the big minor leagues, you have to be at least 16 years old to play in the OHL. And the only way to get in besides that is you have to be granted exceptional status. You can be 14 years old and play against the best players in the world. And that happened to defenseman Aaron Ekblad when he was growing up, comes all the way up through, makes it to the NHL, first overall pick, had an awesome first couple of years, fell on injury news, and the big news dropped last night. Aaron Ekblad is a juicer, folks. 20-game suspension to end the year. He's on the Florida Panthers, one of the hottest teams in the league. They just got Brad Marchand. So it's going to be an interesting story to see it unfold as we come towards the playoffs. But I will end us on this. Congratulations, Aaron. You're in first-round pick.
All right, guys, before we head out of here, we're out of time on the big factor. Aaron Rodgers, will he be a Steeler by tomorrow's show? Yes or no?
Yins.
Yep.
All right. You have it here. You heard it first from Nick Padone, who's been on Aaron Rodgers' Steelers for quite a while. Thanks, everybody, tuning in. Huge thank you to Fairway Ford. Huge thank you to Garage Beer. We'll have plenty more NFL free agency to react to tomorrow, and we'll catch you then. Same people, same time. Peace out.